Are you new to deer hunting? Chances are you've already made at least one of these mistakes. I know I sure did when I first started hunting and probably still make some of them. So in this video, we're going to go over 5 of the biggest mistakes that new deer hunters make, and more importantly, how you can fix them so you can start seeing more deer this season. First, welcome back to Informed Outdoors, where we put out tips and tactics to help everyday hunters be more successful in the woods. If that sounds like you, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for more content. And if you're looking for any hunting gear, clothing, boots, guns and ammo, if you're anything you'd be interested in and you also want to help support the channel, make sure you check those links down below. Now let's jump into mistake number 1. So mistake number 1, you're hunting the wrong wind. This is probably the most common mistake that new deer hunters make, and actually not just new deer hunters, but lots of people make this mistake. Deer live and die by their noses. So if you hunt a spot where your scent is blowing into a known bedding area, or you're crossing a trail that they frequently use to get to your tree stand, those deer are gonna bust you long before you ever get to see them. What new hunters often do is they'll pick a stand based on convenience, or they've seen deer there before, or so-and-so shot a big buck out of here a couple years ago, and then they don't check the wind before going to that spot. And trust me, if you hunt in a spot without checking the wind first, you are wasting that sit. And you may be wasting future sits because you could be ruining that stand for a long time. Instead, always check the forecast before you go out. Plan based on weather patterns and wind direction where you're gonna sit, and always carry a wind checker with you when you're out in the stand. If that wind is not in your favor to hunt that stand, pick a different one, or don't even hunt at all. Patience pays off big time here. Mistake number 2, overhunting a single stand. This is a mistake that almost all hunters make. They have a specific tree they like, they hang this stand that's really comfortable, the spot you seem to see deer quite a bit in it, and so you just go to it over and over and over again. But here's the problem. Deer are pattern readers. If you're walking in on the same trail every morning, leaving scent, leading to the same tree every time you hunt, deer are gonna catch on to that so fast. And while that stand might be hot for a sit or two, you're gonna have some diminishing returns until finally it's just cold. You don't see a thing. A better approach is to rotate stands or give that spot a break for a while between hunts. Now, if you only have one property you hunt, that might mean being more selective about when you're hunting and not just picking any free morning or free evening to go sit. And mistake number 3 is ignoring your entry and exit routes. Now, you can have the perfect stand location. You know, it's right on a travel corridor to a pretty good food plot, or it's upwind of a known bedding area. But if you ignore those entry and exit routes, your scent blows into that bedding area trying to get to that food plot that you want to hunt, or you're walking right past the food plot that those deer are going to be into, that feeding area where those deer are going to be, to get to the bedding area to catch them coming back to it, you just ruin that spot. Your goal should be to get in and out as invisibly as possible. You don't want anything to know you are there. Now, that's not always possible, but you need to minimize that as much as you can. So that means coming in downwind. It means using creek beds and ridge lines to try to cover your sound. And it absolutely means avoiding getting anywhere near any spot you expect deer to be bedding or feeding to get to that stand. Now, this takes some homework. It takes scouting it out. Just like you would scout out for deer signs, scout out your entry and exit routes. It means the difference between seeing a good deer during daylight hours or just hearing them run off in the dark. And mistake number 4 is poor shot placement practice. Now, I get it. Target practice isn't always exciting, and as a new hunter, it could feel, especially as a new archery hunter, it can feel a little bit exhausting when you see people on social media. They're like, I shoot 100 shots a day just to make sure I can make that good 20-yard shot or what. You do not have to go to that extreme, but you definitely need to do something. Because if you can't consistently make a good ethical shot, you are setting yourself up for just a horrible experience. Not only could that mean you just miss altogether, which is probably the best outcome for someone who is not a good shot, but you could just wound that deer, or you could make a terrible shot and hit the guts, and then that's never fun for anybody. But this mistake goes beyond just not practicing altogether. Typically, when somebody practices, they are practicing out there in ideal conditions, you know, plenty of daylight, broadside, known yardages, and that's rarely the case out there in the woods. But out there in the woods, you might have to shoot sitting down, or twisted around a tree, or at a steep angle, or through a small opening in brush. So you have to practice using real-world scenarios. If you're a bow hunter, you need to shoot from from a seated position and an elevated platform and have a 3D target at different angles, and you need to shoot at different yardages that are unknown and uneven. So don't just practice at 20 and 25 and 30. You need to practice at 28 and 32 and 17. Know how your arrow is going to act in those different yardages. If you're a rifle hunter, you need to practice quick target acquisition. You need to practice not just in a rested position off a bench, but you need to practice sitting down and just holding that weight up. The more realistic you make your practice, the more confident you can be when you're out there and it really counts. And finally, mistake number 5 is you're not being patient. Deer hunting is a waiting game, and especially with new hunters, they can get impatient in the stand. They can fidget and move around too much. They can get down too early, or they can give up after a few sits of not seeing anything and just be done for the season. But the truth is, success doesn't happen overnight. Some of my best hunts have come from sitting for hours and hours as quietly and as still as I can when others would have gotten down because they thought the woods were dead. And sometimes that can work to your advantage. Patience kills deer. The hunters who can sit quietly, stay alert, and put in the time are the ones who consistently fill tags. So there you have it, 5 of the biggest mistakes that new hunters make. If you can avoid these, you will be way ahead of the curve. Which of these mistakes have you been guilty of in the past, or are you still making? Drop a comment down below and let us know your stories. Hit that like button if you like this video, share it if you found it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay informed.